Hi, welcome to Forex In Four. I'm Mike Conlon for FXEDU, and in the next 4 minutes, I'm going to show you the highlights of where the action is in today's Forex market. So let's get started. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, June 22nd, 2011. This morning I'm talking about intermission. All right, and what seems like, this whole Greek drama, running amok here. This has been going on for a couple of years, but the analogies are, I kind of run out of titles to come up with in the morning for the blogs because I've used them all already. When we talk about, the Greek tradition for theater and plays and these sort of things. Well, we just got through Act 3 right now, and we're currently in intermission. So Act 3 was that building drama, of what was going to happen yesterday with the confidence vote, and I found it just, kind of amusing the way the TV coverage was going on, and they were watching each guy get up and give his vote, and okay, give me a break. At the end of the day, the markets were pretty much in tune with what was going to happen. All right, people were expecting that this guy was going to pass the confidence vote. He did have a majority in government, and that's what happened. Okay, they received the majority, so they're going to be going forward. But as I mentioned yesterday, okay, just because the one party won doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's just going to go along and say, okay, yeah, all this austerity is a great idea. All right, so we're not out of the woods yet. And they still have a lot of work to do over in Greece. But just looking at the charts here, you can see, all right, yesterday we got the nice move up higher at about 144.20, and we just sort of stalled there. All right, right here was the announcement. Okay, great. And then all of a sudden the euro sold off. It was interesting because I thought perhaps people would do a little bit of selling before the news. You just never know what's going to happen in a news-related situation, especially when politics are involved. And, I thought there was probably a little bit more risk in the market than the market was, letting on yesterday. So all of a sudden, boom, what happens, and then people decide to sell. So I'm not really sure what's going on here, and quite frankly, I don't get it. But that's okay. I'm going to figure it out pretty soon. So just looking around this morning, we're in a little bit of a risk-averse mode right now, and I wonder if that's just because Euro's down and the correlations that follow with it. We've got S&P futures down, we've got oil down, we've got gold down, and I'm wondering, hey, why down today after we've been up pretty good for the last 2 days? And one of the reasons may be the FOMC meeting, which is due out today. Bernanke is going to be speaking, all right, and they're not going to change policy. We know this, and again, this is one of these situations with the the great drama taking place. What's going to happen? Well, Bernanke's not going to do anything to juice the markets, and in fact, he may actually back away from his stance that governments need to take care of the fiscal crisis. I mean, he's saying, listen, we have to get our fiscal house in order. We have to get our fiscal house in order, but we're in a soft patch right now, so maybe we shouldn't do it right now. And I think this is just sort of like the weak-willed politicians that we see, that everybody's just so afraid of what's going to happen if we don't have their guiding hand behind us. So that's what we're looking at. So euro looks to be about trading in a range right here for now, maybe 143.40 bottom there. I want to take a quick peek at the pound. All right, pound was lower last night. You can see right here, sold off on the release of the minutes from the Bank of England rate policy meeting. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, it was basically foreshadowed what was going to happen, is that they've become a little bit more dovish on the board. And one of the hawks that they had, Andrew Sentence, has been replaced on the board. I'm not sure what the circumstances under that was. I don't think he was removed. I think he just left. But they voted 7-2 to keep rates steady. But now they're talking about potentially increasing their quantitative easing, their bond purchase program, all right, to get through the soft patch that they're in. So that's a markedly dovish stance, all right, in the face of the 4.5% inflation that they're seeing. So could be in for some problems there in the UK as far as what the pound's doing. But you can see pound sold off pretty good. And again, yesterday I was shocked that people didn't take this guy's warning in advance. The pound moved up, and it just seemed to be, I don't know if it was, I don't want to call it a coordinated move, but there was definitely a little bit of weird market action happening, and I'm just one of those head-scratching moments for me. So in any event, that's what's going on with the pound. But you can see here we're hitting a pretty oversold territory, and we're just above 161. That's psychological support. So perhaps this is going to hold here today. All right, I'll just show you the Aussie dollar. All right, Aussie, you can see risk sold off, but we're trading in this range just about around 106. So we'll have to see what happens here in New Zealand. Take a quick peek at New Zealand. All right, they're actually up higher today, despite a little bit of the risk aversion that's going on in the market. They had their account balance figures came in better than expected, so it means that they are doing a little bit more exporting than they are importing, which is good for the New Zealand economy. All right, lastly, we can look at dollar CAD. All right, you can see here yesterday on the decent retail sales figures that came out of Canada yesterday, and also the leading indicators figures, and not to mention that they had just the general risk-taking in the market. Oil was higher, Canadian dollar strengthened. Okay, but here we are now. We've got a little bit of dollar strength this morning, although we look to be hitting overbought territory. So you can see how we're overbought on dollar here, we're oversold on what was it, pound here. Okay, so you can see how these things sort of coordinate with one another, and that's kind of what we're looking at. So there's not a ton of news here today in the U.S. as far as individual data figures go. Just to mention, overnight in Europe, they had industrial orders figures which came in worse than expected. We did get U.S. mortgage applications this morning, which came in lower than expected. But the big news today is going to be Bernanke and the Fed and what they're going to do. And obviously they're not going to change anything here. They're not going to announce QE3 right now. All right, but what they are going to do is they've essentially they're going to allow QE2 to continue, and by that I mean they're going to reinvest the balance sheet, okay, and the money that they had. So it's not like they've just totally withdrawn this amount of money that they kicked in for the program to begin with, but now it's just going to be reinvested, so it's going to be recirculated. So essentially that money's still out there. All right, now we got to talk about what to do about the fiscal side. Well, as we know, we still don't have a budget okay, in this country. Leaders in power need to come up with one, and I'm speaking specifically about those in the Senate and the big guy in the White House. Okay, we really need some leadership here. Let's come up with a budget. Let's figure out a way to cut some spending, cut the fat. All right, no one's saying that we have to pull away grandma's check for Social Security, but we have to start having this realistic conversation. We have to get our fiscal house in order so that we can get back to decent and realistic monetary policy, because right now what's going on is that we have this unstable situation where business is not going to get back to hiring because there's so much uncertainty out there. They don't know what's going to happen with monetary policy. Where are interest rates? Are they going up? Are they going down? Are they going to stay the same? What's going on with taxes? Are taxes going up? Or taxes going down? Or taxes going to stay the same? All right, every time you give a little temporary solution to the market, like, oh, we'll give you a tax holiday, all right, all that does is that puts money in people's pockets, but it doesn't cause them to change course of action. Okay, you need a plan to go ahead and do that, and someone can make a projection. If you're a business owner, all right, you've got to make projections for a couple of years down the road. All right, not just what's going to happen by the end of the year. All right, unless you're hiring temporary employees, which they don't show up in the employment report anyway. And with 9% unemployment, all right, it's time to ditch the ideology and get back to what we know works, and that's putting more money in business people's pockets and incenting them to hire people. All right, we do that by lowering taxes, sorry folks, and we cut spending. So, until we start to see some credible plans coming out, Bernanke and the Fed are going to be sort of handcuffed here, and they're going to be saying, well, we just have to leave rates where they are for an extended period. And basically the extended period is language is out there because he knows that the government can't get their act together with fiscal policy. So that really needs to change. So, for right now, I don't see this as a risk event today. In fact, I think that we should see some more risk-taking and see the market turn around a little bit. As I mentioned, we've got stock futures lower, but at this point, I don't know why. It actually seemed like a good thing yesterday that the Greek confidence vote happened and the euro didn't collapse. Okay, so the relief selling I feel like may turn around to some buying a little bit later today. So anyway, that's what I've got for today, folks. Keep an eye on that Fed FOMC meeting, 2:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good trading to all. As always, be sure to check out the written blog at www.fxedu.com to get complete coverage of today's Forex market. If you would like to learn more about how to trade the Forex market from professionals like myself, be sure to check out our affordable Forex trading courses. And if you're already a seasoned professional or aspire to be one, ask us how we can help you achieve your Forex goals. Go to www.fxedu.com to get started today.